So Catherine Campbell is here from Assurance. We have Michael Gudotti here from American Pacific. We also have Damian Cook, who's a branch manager at Assurance. So we're not just going to be talking at a level of the corporate enterprise. We're actually going to go into conversations about what every producer, people that are on the street, people that are talking with customers, with relationships, with referral partners. We're going to hear from them. And Michael Patterson, who's a branch manager at American Pacific, is also here, and he's going to be talking about his experiences. So let me hand this off to David Licken. Let's get a little bit of a market update, and then let's rock and roll.
Good. Well, first of all, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be there. As you could tell, Michael's in his car. I love it when we're doing a webinar and one of the participants is in his vehicle. And so, so glad to hear there. And what a lot of people really don't realize, the artwork behind Alex is done by his kids. I love how he celebrates his kids. So that is their artwork. So it gives a little bit of, just met Catherine as we were getting ready to be a part of this. What an exciting thing to participate with you, Catherine, as well as Damian, Michael, and Michael. So glad. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the markets. Everyone knows this. Interest rates have been going up. I'm looking out over my shoulder here, looking at mbslive.net, and we're looking at the 10-year continue to just do all kinds of crazy things. Many of you guys know that I have a podcast, lickenonlending.com. Les Parker, one of my associates that works with me, dear friend, recently predicted on the interest rates that we're going to see one of those ranges where it'll be 160 to 170 basis points range. We are going to see, this may be the upper range that we're going to see in interest rates, because he also predicted in 2022, we're going to see the 10-year treasury once again, listen to this, go below 1%. So looking at where it's at right now, we're seeing where it's trading as I look over my shoulder. We're seeing the trading at 187, early 180 in the 180s. So we're looking at, if that's true, as much as it could be a 200 basis point swing. So here's what that means. We've got a lot of volatility ahead of us in this market in 2022. By the way, he's been one of the most accurate predictors of where interest rates are going. He has his pulse on it. Encourage you to listen to that interview that I did with Les in the podcast, lickenonlending.com. Check it out. But anyway, so we're going to see a lot of volatility. Now, what does this mean for originators? Anyone who owns a mortgage company or originating loans today, what do you do when rates drop? Precipitously drop. Now, we all know if you're locking loans, if they go up, you're protected. The borrowers, you just got to get the deal done within that time frame. And then the other thing, though, it's going to be the more challenging of that when we're at where interest rates are at today. What is going to happen when interest rates precipitously fall? Holding on to your pipeline. And this really gets into what is unique about this market and who we're going to see succeed and who we're going to see struggle. I'm not going to say word fail, because I believe you can all fail a bit and then come back to success. So failing forward, as the saying goes, I believe that we're going to have one of the biggest challenges we're going to be is hold on to some of the pipelines. If you want to send a sympathy card ahead of time and as a joke, send it to the head of your secondary marketing, because they're managing interest rate volatility in one of these times, or send them a card. I hear your job is going to be a real challenge this year. Work with me and I'll work with you. And I think that's not too far off from the reality. So we're going to see a lot of interest rate volatility. Let's talk about some of the other trends going on. That one's kind of like, okay, what a lot of people are saying, okay, interest rates are going up. But what a lot of people are not anticipating when it comes to interest rate trends is interest rates falling. If Les Parker is accurate, and he has been, way more times than not, is that this is going to present some challenges. How are you going to be dealing with it? Each one of you should get with your managers get with your people, business owners, get with your whole company, send out, this is what happens when it feels like someone pulls the plug out of the bathtub. When rates fall, what are we going to do? It comes down to this. What do we know about this mortgage industry? I've been in that for 49 years. I know that makes me the oldest guy in the room almost all the times, no matter where I go.
But the one with the most energy too.
Well, try to keep up with you all, man. That's just it's a big challenge. I got the y'alls down. We're in Austin, Texas, so excuse if I slip a few of those in. But anyway, here's one of the things. This is a relationship-driven business. He who creates the most meaningful, sticky relationships is the one that's going to hold on to the pipeline. Now, you're going to have to work with secretary. You're going to have to work with that. I was just talking with Catherine before we got on about my early days. I was an originator when I started the business at a bank. And one of the things I did is I seized control of the customer, the consumer, when I went through the front door. I would start out with an obnoxious statement, something like, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to get this done. If I'm successful, and I will be successful, we can be friends later. But I'm here to do this. And what I did, Alex, which I think is so much what part of Sales Boomerang, is you have to have a convincing proposition that people lock onto. You can go somewhere else and you're going to risk not getting the deal done. I'm going to get your deal done. And what confidence you speak. That's the type of thing that you're going to have to maintain in this market as we move into this new year. What are you doing to seize seize control of the transaction with a compelling proposition? So what are you doing to convince you things? Let's talk about a couple of other trends. Everyone knows technology is forever becoming a bigger part of our industry. I just happened to get off the call with the new CEO of Simple Nexus, Kathleen Schreiner Gates, and we were talking so much. She's going to be on my podcast on Monday. So what is so interesting about this is how technology is playing a bigger role. Alex, I look at what you're doing. When it comes to what you could do in helping sales, Sales Boomerang does one of the most ingenious ways. If you have someone just fell out or all the other scenarios that as Sales Boomerang comes in, this is an example. Sales Boomerang is probably one of the best examples of how you can build sales, augment sales, support sales, your sales effort. So again, not trying to sound like I'm a salesman for Alex. I do believe in what they're doing. I love the vision. I love innovation. We look for all kinds of innovations going on. Here is the role of the changes that are happening and will consistently happen as the change of the loan officer. People say, oh my gosh, underwriters say, well, am I going to be out of a job? And I said, no, you're not going to be out of a job. You're going to be working on the more challenging transactions, the ones that are the easier, that fit the cookie cutter kind. They're going to go through, they're going to get approved with some type of form of artificial intelligence, some type of machine learning. It's going to check the boxes. Why more have a human involved in that? Get that thing done, move it on down the line. So that's going to continue to see more of that. Now, where we're going to also see more growing is in the e-notes, e-mortgages. The whole pandemic thing has just exploded. That states are moving forward. So if your company is not involved, if you're not aware of what's going on as a loan officer about how that process works, one of the things that made me successful as a loan originator is I took the time to thoroughly understand every aspect of the process, even though it wasn't sales, because I wanted to be in control. When they had a question, I wanted to have an answer. So learn what's going on in e-notes, e-closings, e-everything, because that's going to be a significant factor as we continue to move in. The other thing is people want to have more, they want to connect with people, but consumers, especially the Gen Zers and the millennials, they want to connect with the lender, but it's not when we think it is. They start their journey almost all the time. All the studies are coming up. They start their journey by going online. I'm thinking of one particular large bank. And I'm not going to mention the name of them because not a big fan of them anyway, but I like independent mortgage bankers, be honest with you. I love independent mortgage bankers, and you bankers that are here, we love you, especially the community bankers, credit unions, all the group. But here's the thing. They have some of the best educational videos for first-time home buyers. They have a set that walk you through it. There is zero sales in those videos. What they're doing is providing information to the Gen Zers and the millennials on their first-time home purchase, what they're looking for. So I'm looking at the time here. I don't go on and on with the market updates.
You're over your 8 minutes.
My 8 minutes. Oh gosh, that's not surprising. Alex, you and I get conversing. So be aware of this. Be using the tools that are out there. Your role as a loan officer is going to be adjusting and changing to being an advisor more and more, a trusted advisor. And I don't know about you, but for everyone that's there, that's a great deal. Let's get into the poll. Go ahead. Do we want to ask Alex, announce this poll?
All right.
So down here, I got all fired up about the market.
I love it. I mean, listen, we should have turned off the screen share and just looked at Dave. I mean, this
no.
all the rest of the kings and queens could have just sat back. So the first question is, what percent of your business was purchase business in 2021? We're going to do a poll here real quick. And by the way, as you're doing this poll, listen to this. We are going to put a timer where you're not going to see it on screen, but every question is going to be timed, right? So we are going to go through these questions, and we need to be able to get our ideas, our thoughts, our positions out within the time frame that we're giving each question, and we got them to 8 minutes. So David, you're going to be running the show. I just wanted to make that announcement. But this is the first question.
I need help from my brother.
Yeah, man, this is how we work. So let's do it. Do we have some results?
We got some results coming up. Yeah, this is good. And we're seeing some results coming in here. By the way, I suck at time management. So what, Alex, whoever's watching this, let's look at the time. Make sure we cut this off. It looking like, all right. So we're having
pretty amazing from what I see. I don't know about the rest of the panel. Like, is that what you expected to see? 40 to 60%?
Yeah, you know what? It looks like it's creeping up a little bit. Either that, my screen's moving on me here, but anyway, that's an encouraging. You know what's so encouraging about that, Alex? Is who we have on the call.
Yes.
Is this representative of the industry? Maybe not. Not so much. A lot of people are struggling with they continue to get in the refinance business and stay there. So the reality is this is representative of this audience. This is exciting because we're talking to the right people. We drew the right people into this audience or into this webinar. So let's get over to Damien. So excited to have you here, Damien. You have got a great deal of success under your experience. What are you experiencing out there in the market?
Well, I think, like you alluded to earlier, David, just the volatility in rates and the run-up we've seen that started really just before Christmas, I think has a lot of people kind of on their heels, either maybe originators that don't have a bond monitoring service that they stay up on. But I can tell you, realtor partners, definitely consumers, it's amazing sometimes how the media hones in on certain messages and pumps it out, but there's nothing going out to the consumer about what rates have done the past 3-4 weeks. So I'm doing a lot of
really good
getting them up to
point.
speed, and also clients that I've been talking to since fall, re-educating them on the current rate environment, because a lot of this is being driven by the Fed. The Fed has done a 180 since late summer, early fall, and just getting people comfortable with what the new normal is.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that are going to be, several people have asked the question, what is going to be the factor that's going to cause rates to fall? It's going to be another spike in the pandemic, market gyrations. I mean, who knows what could be coming around the market. So one of the things that I want to ask is, when you're maintaining a purchase book of business, Damien, what are some of the tricks or tips that you can offer out to our audience, and how you hold on to your pipeline in times of volatility?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, one thing is that I'm just so fascinated, like and you're not the only person, David, that has said that rates could drop. I just don't see that happening. Like, where my head is mentally is peaks and valleys, but the trend is up. And that's what I'm communicating to my clients. And just really, the market's going to do what it's going to do. My job, I feel like, is to provide education and transparency and try and keep them abreast of what's happening. But
so I want to highlight
what it's going to do.
Yeah, I want to highlight something you're saying there, Damon. What is the key to what you just said? Communication. That is probably one of the most important things that you manage. Everyone on this call listening to this thing, wherever you're at, whether you're a processor trying to figure out how to support a loan officer supporting a pipeline, a branch manager supporting an organization, an owner supporting, the most important part is the communication aspect of that, Damien. Talk about some of the things that you're seeing, and then I want to get around to some of the others to get some, we turn this into some dialogue here, what others are experiencing, Damien. But what are some of the ways you find most effective to communicate?
Well, I think it depends on the loan officer. Like, everyone has their style. One of the things that, I'll give a shout out to Catherine, what she's done at Assurance since she's come on board, has really brought a ton of technology into, I'd call it my arsenal, right? So when I'm in prospecting mode, trying to get business in the door, like I definitely love to talk people, shake hands, kiss babies, as I like to say, be out in the marketplace. But when we have technology to support that and to create additional efficiencies, whether it's amazing digital marketing or when we brought on sales boomerang, right? All those things help me reach more people quicker and drive my efficiency up higher so I can help more people in a shorter period of time. And as we, as the refi market, let's just assume rates at least hold steady or go up, as that market shrinks down exponentially and we get back to a purchase-driven market, every deal is going to count tremendously. And I need to make sure that I'm leveraging everything I need to do to capture not only new business, but keep my clients or people that I've talked to in the past in the fold, right? I want to know about it if someone's out looking, thinking about buying a house. And it's impossible, especially if you have veteran loan officers. Like I've been originating 17 years and in a leadership branch, originating branch manager for almost 10. But there's zero way for me to stay on top of all my clients. And then when you have technology helping you do that, whether it's digital marketing or like sales boomerang, if you can be there right when they need you, you got your foot in the door to really help hopefully capture some business. The worst thing ever, I think, for loan officers is to find out after the fact someone's already apped somewhere else, or even worse, you get a notification that your mailer, if you're still doing those, and I do a couple times a year, I believe in touching people a lot of different ways, your mailer gets returned because they've moved. You're like, God, how? I totally missed it. Great client, right? But I wasn't there the exact second they needed me. And I'm a big believer, out of sight, out of mind. You got to be there ready to jump when they're ready to go. That's
a good point. You gave a shout out to Catherine. Catherine, what are some of the technology tools that you're employing there?
Yes.
Exciting. Fun. It's nice to be appreciated. You're appreciated.
This is why I brought Damien on. I knew he would sing my praises, right? Well, some people like the technology like Damien, and frankly, some people don't, right? This is a massive transition. I think one of the greatest things you said, David, is when you said, you really took control of your deals the moment you went in their home. That is not a luxury we have anymore. We don't go and meet people in their homes anymore.
That's right.
And so you're really waiting in the last several years for someone to raise their hand to say, Damien, I need you. And that is easy to respond when someone raises their hand. What's difficult is exactly what Damien said. How do you get there at the right timing? And particularly when you have a large database like he does. And so we now through technology can help you understand that there is some sort of mortgage behavior. The person has behaved in a certain way. Potentially they've gone and gotten their credit pulled by a competitor, or they've listed their home for sale. So, you would have known well in advance that they were going to move because they just listed. There are numerous ways to look at that behavior and alert the loan officer with that. So, today, of course, people want text messaging. They want, automated emails. So the moment we get alerts in, we send an automated email out and we say mortgage on your mind. And it's kind of like, oh, wow, that was that guy's name. It's right. It's Damien. And so they're getting phone calls, saying, I actually do need a mortgage right now. So funny that you emailed me today, right? And of course, that's just technology, that's marketing automation. So the power of sales boomerang has completely changed the ability to not only better, grow the database wealth, but the service they're providing to the client. You're there when they need you. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's so good. So Alex, jump in here, and then we're going to Michael and Michael. Got to get your feedback, get you in on this important discussion. Alex, come on.
I know we got less than like 30 seconds on this one. I think we're going to get buzzed out.
We're going to get buzzed out. Okay, come on.
Yeah, I think. Let's move on to poll question number 2, and there's a lot to discuss here.
All right.
And let me position this because I do want to jump in, and we need to hear from the other panelists. So this is a really interesting question that we as a panel came up with. And before you answer, hold tight. It came up, but before you answer, let me explain to you what you're looking at. What is your level of enthusiasm for a $160K loan in this year versus last year? Why did we ask this question? Last year, loans fell from the sky. Were you anxious and excited to go chase this down? Or were you like, you know what? I'm going to get $500,000 loan opportunities. I'm not going to be wasting my time chasing a 160. That is why we put this question in for 2021 22 versus 21. What was your level of enthusiasm? Go ahead. Let us know. Did everyone start
A poll.
responding already?
Yeah, here we go. Yep, yep. Okay, this is good. This is good.
Okay. All right.
A little more flat on the expectation here.
Well, here's the thing. I think actually it's exactly what we had predicted, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are going to be more excited and more into smaller loan amounts because deals aren't falling from the sky anymore. And so
That's right.
I think that's an important thing. And so, David, you asked me to chime in here. I get excited thinking about this, but I would love to hear from Michael and Michael and the other groups.
All right, let's get into it. So if we're going, let's go on to the next slide, looking at what are your main strategies to win in this purchase dominant market. So I could say Michael, but then you guys will be talking over each other. So let's go to Michael in the car, coming to you live from a parking lot near his next app. Come on, Michael, what you got?
Yeah, so strategies for purchases. I think one of the biggest messages to our realtors is we haven't changed, right? And during the refi boom, they were getting ignored by so many different loan officers, and we just remind them, hey, who's calling you up right now? And they're begging for your business now because now all of a sudden, they're not too busy for you. And our models didn't change. We stay in front of the clients. We have keys on time guarantees that will close on time. We do fully TBD approvals for all of our files, so I think having that message to the realtor partners that we do purchase money business, we do it well, clear by your poll. The majority of the people on this webinar are purchase money specialists. And I think that's going to be the big key. The second thing, getting back to your previous question, because I really wanted to chime in on that, how do you protect your runoff on your files, right? How do you get those locked in and maybe rates change or, they're talking to competitors? That really is speed. And that's where technology comes in, the AI underwriting. Michael Guidotti is my right-hand man on this, driving the technology in the company, between, the AI underwriting and Salesforce, or I'm sorry, Boomerang. And
you can confuse Sales Boomerang with Salesforce. That's okay.
Boomerang, and just really seeing, that point of contact with those clients and staying in front of them. So those two things are critically important to me.
All right, Michael, he gave you a shout out. Jump in on this.
Yeah, so I think, from really the corporate level, weighing in here, it's multitude of things. One is, I think, getting in front of what we knew was going to happen. And that's one of the beauties of, I think, our leadership team is, all throughout 2020, all throughout 2021, we were still running campaigns, still, focusing on, the purchase as much as we could, doing things to engage with our agents, making sure that our technology was really able to meet our LOs where they're at. I think that's one of the key pieces. And I know Catherine briefly touched on it as well, but you can have the best strategy, but if nobody's going to adopt it, then
great point.
What's it worth?
Yeah,
so,
and that comes to the key word in this is manage. Are you managing? And if, which means, are you a leader? Well, what defines a leader? Is anyone following you? That really defines what management and leadership is about. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, part of the strategy is having to understand that you're going to have people that are at various stages of their adoption in the technology. So it's also having technology that's nimble enough that it's not so forced where, people are going to want it turned off or not use it at all. So it's having components where, it's like, hey, this is going to be automated in the background for you. Here's where you can jump in. Here's the things that you can kind of control, but here's also our best practice and kind of our workflow. And also, as a company, I think you owe it to have the data to support why you're going down that path. Here's where we're seeing, one thing I could say for us, a huge uplift that's helped our turn times, purchase focus. We went to mobile disclosures for, well over, we're sending out, over 3,000 to 4,000 a month right now. Wow. And we're seeing the completion time from somebody signing their documents, their disclosures, from the email that they get through the system, right around 2 days to take people, because nobody checks their email anymore. Our mobile disclosures, just under 3 hours to completion.
That's a great statistic.
So right there, we're picking up nearly a day and a half. That's shortening that cycle time.
Yeah,
So,
that was, Yeah, I was going to go to that. I want to just interject this statistic. What's interesting about email, it's falling down to 22% of people open up an email, period. 22% send out an email. That's it. It's at 97 to 98%. And that open rate on a text message, we all know this, but we got to remind ourselves of this, because how we communicating, which comes back to this, it's 97 to 98%, and it's within 3 to 5 seconds.
Love it.
I know
that statistic, Michael, is insane. I mean, I don't know, Catherine, if that's something you guys are doing, but what an amazing stat. And mobile, again, we have to go. What is that? You got to know where the puck is going. That's what Gretzky, made him so special.
You had to fit that in there, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. That's a special wink to David there.
Yeah.
But it is part of that, and I love this is why American Pacific, and why, Michael, you've always been such a leader in tech, is you're going to where you know where the puck is going, and you're getting your company there, so you meet the puck and aren't chasing it.
Catherine, jump in.
To see where the borrower is starting. So we can obviously see web traffic, and that has increased significantly through a mobile device versus desktop. Applications have increased significantly from a mobile device versus desktop. So if they're preferring mobile, exactly where Michael is headed, let the whole transaction be mobile. Certainly the communication's mobile friendly, as well as the actual documentation. So that's where the market is.
Good.
I know we're moving to the next slide. I just had
did Damien want to throw in a real quick comment to that?
I was just going to mention, being in my vehicle right now, the more I can be away from my desk, the better, right? Because we are still meeting with realtors and clients, and the more I can do on my cell phone, on my smartphone, the better off I am as an originator out in the field. So
that's good. Damien, jump in real fast.
Yeah, super short. We've got to meet clients where they want to be met, right? Either we evolve with the market or we become irrelevant. It's very simple.
Yep. Great point. Great point. Let's go over this next poll. Alex, are we at our next poll question already?
Not yet. Right now, it's just a question.
A question.
Yeah. So
Good.
How are you advising your realtors about a borrower selling their home now and buying another property?
Right.
Like, we know, right? It's the market is high. It's like, oh, I can make more money for my house than I've ever made, but you're also going to buy the most expensive house you've ever bought. So that's the question to you guys. Like, is there any conversations happening with you and your realtors? What's the advice look like? How are you partnering to help the borrower? What's it look like?
Yeah, Michael Patterson, lead off on this discussion.
I think one of the buzz terms that I used recently is equity relocation. Right. We have relocation.
Equity relocation. Oh, that's a good marketing phrase there, Catherine.
Yeah.
I like that one.
And so seeing where realtors are specializing in relocation specialists, and we see a lot of people getting out of, the urban centers, and they're wanting to move because they can work remote. Realtors are having to obviously meet those people's needs. And, how do you work with those clients when they're going to be remote? They're so used to working online and not meeting face to face. Video is really, really key. The Zoom calls, I think there is a little bit of Zoom fatigue out there, but I use Bomb. I'll record a video. I had a story of a first-time home buyer, actually, that she had such fear and anxiety about even starting that loan process that after my call, I recorded a quick video, shot it over to her. She calls me literally like 2 minutes later after she watched the video and said, "Thank you so much, because I had such anxiety about even starting the process. I pictured you sitting in a high-rise building over in Seattle, Washington, with your three-piece suit on, and why should I give you a loan?" And she just had so much anxiety about that. And so meeting them where their needs are.
So true.
Yeah. But talking to the realtors about moving that equity to a new location and either giving them a better quality of life, right? Because that's what those clients are talking about. And then talking about the numbers. Can it be a lateral move, or can they even maybe go down on their mortgage payment with the new equity relocation? And I think that's a big key to talk about. Give them the facts, give them the numbers, and help them run the math.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to hear out of the audience. I wish we had a poll question up and talking about how many people are using a video and using it to a degree of success. Damien, talk about video. And I've got a suspicion Catherine has you using that a bit.
Yeah, well, I think that one of the things COVID did, if you, especially in a major metropolitan area, I'm blessed to be in Atlanta, which is a very strong real estate market. But once COVID hit, if you weren't on board with video, you were quickly being left behind.
Yeah.
So everything from Zoom, then the adoption of Teams, which I'm finally on board with that. I love Teams. BombBomb's been great, but kind of what Michael said, at the retail level, it's all about building rapport. And there's no better way to do that than a face-to-face interaction. The second best way is video, right? Which is far superior to texting, calling, or emailing. So yeah, people see you in person and more than an interest rate.
Catherine.
Just to piggyback on that, further the technology. Okay, so today there's a video expectation. I expect that I can see you, believe that you're, not like Michael said, his experience was that you're a valid person, really doing business. The next phase is something like Mortgage Coach, which we are just adopting. Because this is something we do every day. It is very confusing to a person who only looks at a mortgage maybe once every 4 years or so. So to display their options, to show them in charts and graphs with a video that pops on top of those charts and graphs, with a mobile friendly output, that is going to be the new expectation. If you are delivering an actual experience of what, a view of what their financial, outcome could be versus just shooting an email or saying, hey, yeah, I think you can do it in a text, forget it. The expectation is going to change very quickly. COVID certainly was the impetus for that, but the borrower was already ready. The borrower is already doing mobile banking, right, from a cell phone. So this is, by the end of this year, you've got to have the whole arsenal, as Damian said, ready to go.
I think that's a good point. And I think we're out of time. We've got to move on to the next one. But Alex, one of the things I love about you and doing videos is you are real, raw, and authentic. It does not have to come across polished. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Everyone has this thing about video that, well, I don't like the way I look. I don't like that. Hey, listen, it's about the message, it's about communicating. It's not, I'm sure, Damien, when you got that one message from him, or no, Michael, you were talking about, you got that one message. It wasn't because, oh, I love the professionalism of the way you created that video. They could give a flip about that. It's the message and the timeliness of it. So,
and I would
Michael.
say, David, and even to drive that further, I would say for originators, for you mortgage advisors, I wouldn't say less professional. Let's not have an angle like this where you're talking to people and they can't see you. But what I'm saying is, if you can just shoot it with your video, with your phone, and you're just walking or you're sitting in your car, that probably has a greater impact because now you're human, just like me. Right?
It's authenticity.
That's right. Be real.
That's what a reality TV has given us a gift. They want to see you real. So, Michael, kudos, and I love that story. All right, Alex, let's get on to the next thing. You're helping me guide this thing along. Yep. Here we have a polling question. That's our polling question.
That's it. Yeah. So take a minute. We're going to keep this poll question up for a good 60 seconds so you can read exactly what we mean and you can digest and choose and be honest. What are you doing? Are you speaking with your realtors? Are you truly advising, or are you saying, forget about it? My check balance, my bank account balance is more important than the best advice. And it's okay. There's no judgment here. There's no judgment. Whatever is best for you in the moment and where you are today is what we're looking for, right? So are you helping make the best decisions? Or are you saying, let's sell that house right now or buy that next one? So what's the advice you're giving? I think we're getting lots of activity.
Good deal. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
Yes. I love that. And yeah. And I would take out the word shepherd and put Sherpa, because I love the Sherpas, because they take, no matter where things go, they're the toughest people on the planet. Man, I love those stories about what those.
Have you seen the movie, the documentary, The Alpinist? Oh my goodness. Everyone.
It's like, Shepherds guide you. Sherpas are beasts, and I think we need to be beasts in this market that we're heading into, my friend. Look at it. I think we got the results of that. Well, we said 60 seconds. It did take 6 seconds to get the results of that one.
Yeah, 100% said yes. You guys are guiding. And so, are you guys
restore our faith in humanity? Right. You know, the loan officers actually do have the client's best interest in mind, and we'll talk our way out of a deal if it doesn't make sense for them. Right.
I love
I
that.
love what someone said, Michael, on that point. They talked about the biblical story about Samson killing 1,000 Philistines with a jawbone of an ass. And he says, I heard this one speaker, he says, there's been more sales killed by the same thing as the jawbone of an ass. In other words, us flapping away so much. I think we need to learn how to be on point with what we're talking about. So let's get on to the next questions. I love this one. So Alex, you want to get this one read?
Yeah. Do you know which specific competitor? This is great. Okay. Do you know which specific competitor you have to beat in your local markets because there's simply not enough inventory for both? Do you guys know which competitor? This is a great question. This is really throwing it out there.
Yeah,
Right?
this kind of goes a little bit to a marketing component. So I want to go to Catherine first, because when you really start looking at it, this is where the support of a really strong marketing department can make such a difference, Catherine. So if we could go up to you first and start on this response.
It's my favorite question. So thank you. Yeah. So, having been a digital marketer for many years, we can easily trend through Google Analytics, sort of trends in different regions, right? So we can see if paid terms are getting more expensive, if mortgage near me is getting more expensive, if people are buying terms broadly or more narrow. And then we can certainly sort of gauge traffic for different websites to see how they're driving that traffic. So we could, back in the day, and by the way, that was just a couple of years ago, that was the only way we really could tell where the competition was, other than the annual reports that came out and explained where you were. Today, between merging HMDA data into a business intelligence tool we called Domo, or it's called Domo, as well as using something like Nomus that gives us immediate access to the competition in real time based upon product, zip code, household income across every single line item you'd like, you can easily determine not only, how you're doing in that market or who you might need to go after and directly compare yourself to, like at Damien's, role. But for me, I can decide where am I going to make the spend online to drive traffic to the site based on that competition level. So you must have the technology to be able to move as quickly as the
That's great.
is.
So talk about the technology you have, Damon, and how you're using this to your advantage.
Well, I think that, proper use of technology, it's having the knowledge and then implementing that into a strategy, right? And having a plan laid out up front. And, it's interesting, this question, it's like, I look at it and to be transparent with y'all, like coming off 2021, and I had a super strong finish to the year. I'm still kind of recovering. I feel like I know who I need to compete against right now and get in there and get after them. But I don't know because I haven't seen the data yet. And that's really, I might be a little bit behind right now. But once you have the data, you can plan accordingly and then focus your efforts.
I think one of the key phrases I heard years ago is the enemy to your future success is your current success. And I think what happens, you just spoke to that, Damien, you just came off a banner, a closeout of the year, and you can get so busy doing that. But it's so important that we recover, we come up heads up and start looking at that. Michael, up in Seattle, come on, talk. How are you identifying and how is your team at Corporate supporting you on data?
Well, I gauge it a lot by the loan officers that are bringing competitive deals to me, right? So as a branch manager, I manage a number of cost centers, number of loan officers, and I always tell them, I want to know where we're at in the marketplace. So I want to know for sure, because I'm highly, highly competitive. I want to know if those deals walked, right? And, I was very encouraged the other day because our jumbo pricing beat better.com on a regular price quote that they got.
Nice.
That was amazing to me, right? And, that speaks volumes to our capital markets team that's really driving some of those things, realizing, hey, we need to be good on some of these niches. Our local competitors, we always have the main players. But the interesting conversation that I have, especially with home buyers, is do you honestly think in this competitive market, you are going to get your offer accepted with an online lender's pre-approval letter or a big box bank that everybody knows doesn't close on time? Some of these lenders, they have that reputation. And so while they are maybe a competitor on pricing, it really is a team concept with your realtor partners and your clients and the loan officers to really explain that Sometimes clients don't get it. Maybe they have to go, get beat up a couple times and, use a different lender's approval letter and not get accepted. And those realtors, when they're smart, they go through a couple of those. They still
Yeah.
want the deal. They're not going to convince a client to have to use their lender. They want to get that deal. I get it.
Yeah.
But if they go hit
Good
their
point.
head against the wall, they're going to come back. And
Yeah, it's
so many
not
times, we're the ones that get them their deal. The loan officers
Yeah.
that call the listing agent gets that deal.
all
And
about getting the deal done.
yeah.
Not all pre-approvals are there. Michael, what are you doing at Corporate to support that? I mean, love that.
Yeah, I think, just piggybacking off of what everybody said, I think it's for us, it's supporting our independent branches that are in their respective regions, right? With us being a national, company, we know who some of the national players are that are like our size, that are doing the 24 plus billion a year, in volume. But I think for us, it's really giving them those tools that we can, I look at it as really the online lenders for the most part, because, for us, I think with our size, with our commitment from our leadership team, we have all the tools, we have all of, we're able to compete on that pricing. And I think for us, it's really driving those things into the people, because that's what the key differentiator is between us and the online lenders is, we have those local experts, like Michael and his multiple branches. We have those people that are going to be the boots on the ground that are able to go, meet with the agents, where they're at. So it's for us, partnering, the technology, because the online lenders, right, they have the process down. They've got the technology, they've got that piece. And that's where, I think, again, a lot of people start their searches online. Well, the second you plug in the word mortgage online, all the vultures are coming. So now it's, how does that, how do we separate ourselves out once they've seen that sexy rate and, make it clear, we've got everything they've got, and we've got this person that's going to be there to guide you along the way.
We can't, and at that point, I just want to keep underscoring. I want to move on to the next question. We got another one that's really, I want to keep going. And so, Michael,
David, let me jump in 1 second
please.
before we can just two things. I got something funny. I got a new
You
slogan
have something
for
funny.
IMBs.
Imagine that.
I do. I got a new slogan for IMBs. RBs has the meats. IMBs have the people. You have the people.
There you go.
We have the people.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention is so important, and let's move on to this. Is look, the reason that we exist, that Sales Boomerang is here, is specifically for relationship building, right? One of the things we used to say a lot is, if you lose a borrower to a lender using Sales Boomerang, you will never see that borrower again. And so if you know your competitors and they're just trying to run up numbers and it's not about relationship for them, Sales Boomerang becomes that, not just a relationship, but it becomes that, you heard us laugh about this many times before, becomes that Hotel California experience. They come into your space, but they can never leave, right? They're always with you moving forward. And that's the idea.
Yeah.
That's why the competitive landscape is good to know, so you can get them and keep them. Let's jump into question number 6. Oh, this is great. Take notes on this, guys. This is great. All right. You're talking to the kings and queens of purchase. You just heard some amazing insights that are just brilliant from advisors in mortgage. What are your main scorekeeping metrics to know if you're doing well in purchase, given last year's refi volume, or if you're doing poorly, right? Like, what are those key metrics?
Good. Yeah, that's great point. So, Michael, let's go back to you. You were just finishing off. Let's talk about it. What are you looking at from your corporate standpoint? And then what do you push out? Then we're going to go up to Catherine, get the same thing, then go to Damien. So let's get your perspective. How are you scorekeeping?
Yeah, so I think, it first starts with the data, right? So it's, having the data available, not only for us at a, corporate level, in our home office here, but it's also empowering the loan officers and the branches with that visibility. So it's interesting. You hear a lot of the same tools brought up. We also use Domo as our business intelligence software. So it's, again, giving that all to them at their fingertips. Any loan officer or branch manager can see, all of their data. They can, range it by years, by quarters. And so it's also, where were you at, during the last 2 years, and where were you at prior to that? And, I think for us, one of the things that we've really been looking at has been, what has our purchase percentage been trending? And, for us as a company, we were over 60% all of Q4. So we
Wow.
felt like, we
Good.
really started to make that, and we're, I think over 50% in Q3. So we really see that we started to make that turn, a little bit earlier. And so we feel like we're really set up in a good position, moving forward. And again, I think it's to Michael's point earlier, is making sure that the loan officers, branches had the tools to stay in front of their agents even while they were busy. Because if you're just starting to do that pivot right now, to Michael's point earlier, good luck, because you just ignored your agents for the last 2 years. And, are they really going to be, that gung ho to send you, to send you all that business versus the people that were still checking in, doing that stuff for. So for us, it's really, looking at the data and the metrics where we were at pre-pandemic and where we've been trending over the last, 12 months.
So Michael Patterson, that we heard from corporate, let's hear from the field. You have unique position, boots on the ground in a particular market and markets. How are you measuring it? And and then coming up again to Catherine and then Damien. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, like Michael said, we manage the metrics. We look at the Domo data, and year over year, that's a big indication. We look at the pipeline too, and being top of mind with all your clients, and some of the emails that go out, people will raise their hand, and I think that having the loan officers bringing some of those new conversations with the realtors is really important, right? So I guess the point that I was trying to make on this one was, we're looking at not just cherry picking deals, right? And we're taking the hard deals too. We're talking to the realtors saying, hey, send me your broken deals and let me help you fix them, right? Send me those clients that are credit challenged. Send me the ones that, they're not quite ready, but we'll help mature those for you. And the more of those conversations, and what's interesting is, in our space, we aren't those cookie cutter deals sometimes, right? We're not that 800 credit score, they just want a $50,000 HELOC, right? That's not our space. But we are the ones that can fix the problems, come up with the solutions to help them come up with a game plan. And sometimes that takes a village to put that together. And the more that my phone is ringing saying, hey, I got this scenario. Hey, how do we handle this one? And how do we handle that one? And the activity on that really is how I gauge how much purchase volume are we going to be doing. That and credit pulls. Like, are we doing a lot of credit pulls? Are we seeing a lot of activity that way?
Love
too?
that.
All right, Catherine, let's get up to you.
Yeah, you're really looking at the group here. We are representing what has kept purchase alive, right? Certainly the consumer direct teams have not. So those are the people in the groups that are last year trending at, only 20% purchase. And we, like Michael was saying, we also trended over 60% all last year. So, it still is a very relationship business to make sure that you're working with realtors. The KPI perspective, however, starts very early for us. So it's one thing to say, hey, we know 2021 and 2020 were sort of anomalies. Let's go back to 2019. We're a 20-year-old company. We can sort of trend how we've done year over year and good times and bad. And so we can go back to a year that might sort of replicate what this year should look like for us and see if we're on trend for that. The other thing is, again, with digital and online measurement, we can tell very early on what the noise is from the consumer. Are there more searches for I need to refinance my home, or are there more searches for purchase a new home? I want to buy a home. I need to get pre-qualified. So as we can start to see that traffic that's going towards that way, we start to go drive and bring that traffic to us, and then we push that traffic back out to the branches. So we know very early.
Let's go to one of the branches. Damien, how are you doing with that data?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I love all the data on the front end, but probably the most important thing that I really focus on is the closed client data. And part of our tech stack that Catherine brought in a couple of years ago is experience.com, which automates that process. I used to call and try and get feedback, get people to do surveys. Now it's being done for me. So I'm still making those calls. But the way I look at it is, if, regardless of where the market's heading, if we're not executing and creating super happy clients or raving fans, to be cliche, with the business that we're closing now, I don't feel like that matters as much, right? We got to, and the same with our realtor partners or referral partners. They need to feel like, I want to know whether or not they had an amazing experience. And that's probably the biggest KPI that I watch day in and day out.
That's a great one. I mean, you're talking about our friends, Alex and my friends. You talk about when you talk about experience.com. I mean, it's one of the ones we talked about Mortgage Coach earlier. We could go on and on, but it's really underscoring how new technology companies are coming in to play a really big role. Alex, you're doing a lot in this particular place. I might give a shout out to two more companies that I would look at. There's two things I look at. I look at, Catherine, you hit on a really good point. I'm looking at the time because we've got to wrap this up. So we've got to do this quickly to go to Alex. But the thing is, you're looking at data on that's coming in on how searches are going. Another one would be Mobility MMI as well as Modix. These are two companies that track actual sales that are happening. So you can look at data. You can also look at listing data. There's so much data out there, and you can gauge on what's going on and what's coming to market. So look at all the repositories of that. But Alex, I love what you're doing at Sales Boomerang, because you store all this data and you tell everyone when something has become actionable that wasn't previously actionable.
100%. And there's reporting too, as you're mentioning this in general about data and how do you keep score, which is very important. I love all the answers that you guys gave. I hope everyone took notes on that. You know, there's reporting that Sales Boomerang offers too about like loan loss reports. So how well did you do, right? How well are you actually retaining your database compared to what's happening, and how are your competitors poaching from you? And you can also pinpoint some of the markets or branches that aren't performing as well as others by looking at that loan loss report and saying, okay, we lost 30% of all of our loans from this region. What do we need to do? Where do we need to step up? Are people using technology properly the way that we're implementing there? Again, Catherine makes this point all the time, and I love it. It's not adoption, it's utilization. It's not just adoption, it's utilization. Adoption means we know the technology exists in our company. Utilization means we're using the technology that we know exists. And so it's all of those things that are important. And so, yeah, and I know we're going to move.
Yeah, let's go to this next question, because I think it's a real big one for managers. So we want to hear from Michael Patterson on this next question. And Damien, corporate, you got to keep quiet on this one. So what is it? As a LO, what are you looking for from your lender, your company, your corporate office to make you successful in 2022? Patterson, lead it off, man. Put a little pressure on Michael up there.
I think loan officers are creatures of habit, right? And the more that we can do the done for you type of things for them, so that we can keep them fed and watered and
done for you. Yeah, I like that.
Getting stuff done. They have access to these, you're talking about utilization of the tools. As a branch manager, obviously I try to train them, go deep and, really like say, hey, how can you implement this in your business? Let's talk about your 2022 plan. Let's talk about utilizing some of these things. You don't have to use them all. Let's figure out which ones are going to make a big difference for you. But the more those success stories that I can hold up, we get somebody that is like killing it using a particular tool or strategy. That's what I like to hear from my home office. That's what I love to hear, is those success stories. And from a competitive nature, I know that, hey, if that guy did it, I can do it, right? And utilizing some of these tools. And so, like Sales Boomerang, I think is huge. The runoff question of your existing database. We've got people that have had huge databases and they're just not keeping in touch with all their people. So having that teed up to them, going, hey, here's a really good time. You might not want to call like, hey, a big brother was watching and I noticed you were applying for a loan. But, being top of mind, being in the right place at the right time, the statistics, we know people are going to use those loan officers again if they remembered who they were. Right.
Yeah, you work for American Pacific Mortgage. I mean, it's a great company. They do a great job on that. Let's get up to Damien. Also works for Assurant Financial, great company that really supports you. Talk about this one. How would you respond? How can Catherine and company and corporate support you, brother?
When I look at this question, I kind of have two thoughts. One is, when we talk about being successful in 2022, either the foundation has been laid already for us to be successful, or it's not there. Like, if you're scrambling now to put stuff in place, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, great point.
I feel like what Assurance has done, Catherine has done, has brought us forward from a technology stack standpoint, and really put us in a position to succeed. Y'all talked about utilization. That's another thing that I struggle with my LOs. we can have the amazing tools, but they got to use them, right? And there's a training and adoption part that is critical, because all these things cost money, right? And as a branch manager, we don't want to be paying for stuff that's not being used, and getting loan officers to buy in. And I think as far as like looking forward, it's not just about 2022, but I count on Catherine and the whole leadership team at Assurance, because I've got more of a here now focus. Support everyone now, do the deals now. What are we going to do to have a successful week, quarter, and ultimately year? And trust them to be looking at 2023, 2024, all the way down the road already, right? And let them do that. Let me focus on more like the here and now, and trust that everyone's going to be doing their job, and we're going to get there together as a team.
Great. We got one last. We're out of time, man. The thing went so fast. You guys did a great job. Let's get to the last poll question, just so we honor it. Real quickly.
I say we skip.
We just wrap it. We're just going to go for a wrap.
To give everybody some time and make sure that we're not stepping on other people's meetings.
Yeah, that's good. I do have another call coming up right now, so I've got to jump to it. But great job, you guys. Panelists, awesome job. Meaningful. Hopefully this would be some great content everyone can walk away with, and it's actionable. Thanks so much for joining us. Alex, you want to wrap it up? Catherine?
Man, you said it. I just want to say thank you to everyone. The kings and queens have delivered, and you guys have given some insights that are absolutely brilliant, not things you're going to read in papers or in articles. This was raw. This is from the people that are doing it. And you have two of the best companies in the industry that just know how to win in all markets, not just hot markets, all markets. All markets are hot for them because they know how to win in them. So I just want to thank you all.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Have a great 2022.
Thank you, guys.